Cheers.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wavemakers Podcast, where we focus on the stories of those who are on the front line of the green maritime transition as well as digital transition of shipping. My guest today has been driving digital transformation of shipping for the past 15 years. And today he's a director of commercial operations at Veson Nautical, but we will reflect on his personal journey of how it felt to be that front runner and also to see if there's anything that we can learn from as Maritime is going into another transition. Help me welcome Giftson Eliyesar.
Thank you, Gordana, for the kind invitation. It's really great to be here at the Wavemakers Podcast. It's phenomenal. Thank you.
So in your own words, how would you describe yourself?
I mean, for those who do not know me, I'm Giftson Eliyesar, a commercially driven leader, build foundation on values. Not many people know this, but I originally come from a family of pastors, deeply rooted in Bible, gospel music, ministry. While that was their calling, I kind of identified my calling in the marketplace early in my journey. That's when I realized that I need to be back in the marketplace, but bringing the same principles that are probably my ancestors and my forefathers have carried it in terms of integrity, also being more serving and being humble into the shipping space and also into the maritime space and also into the leadership side of things.
How did that journey come about? Just you deciding that you have a slightly different calling and then going into shipping, which is not always the first thing that comes to people's minds when they're charting their way into professional world.
So originally I'm trained in computer science. That's how I started with. But I moved to Singapore in 2010 from India, where I pursued my career in the procurement and logistics space for an ice cream production facility. So that's where I first got exposed to shipping because I was handling inventory, scheduling shipments, basically for the key raw ingredients for ice cream production, like, for example, skim milk powders. And this company that I worked for also had outfit of coffee, across the Singapore island. So I used to import coffee, etc. So I was talking to the counterparts like OOCL, Maersk. That's when my real exposure began into shipping, not through theory, but through real practical movements of goods around moving these supply chain processes. That sparked a curiosity in terms of knowing what shipping is all about. And from there on, I joined IT solutions company around the world, into, for example, one of the companies that I worked with was providing loading computers and stowage planning for container shipping. And that kind of really sparked a lot of curiosities, knowing more about this industry in terms of what they do, in terms of automation, in terms of efficiency, in terms of connecting people around the globe. Then from there, I pursued my studies in naval architecture and as well as in ship design. But today I'm a commercial director of Veson Nautical, driving digital transformation across the client portfolio across different stages and segments. For example, owner-operator sort of things, trading companies, and as well as the material producers.
How do you see the industry changing for the past 10 years? When you went back in those days trying to vouch for a software solution versus now?
So my given my field and being in the maritime technology space and as well as especially on the change management, it's not really easy for people to change. So I come to learn that, especially in the maritime industry, the change doesn't happen just because the tech is ready. Change only happens when people are ready. So it's really about the mindset of how people can leverage on solutions or incorporate technologies into the day-to-day sort of things. So I kind of sense that people need to be trusted. People need to see value in terms of what they do. And you've got to really help them during the transition and also help them, guide them step by step in order to adapt to the change. So shipping is global, right? and it's 24/7. It's non-stopping. As for the decisions are made around it, I believe. So I kind of sense that, because of the fast-moving and very dynamic in nature, and it's also very deeply human. So relationship is really, really key here. I kind of see that you can't drive transformation without a connection. So you need to understand, for example, from my experience in the last 15 years, I kind of, understand that you got to think globally, but act locally. That's primarily because every region is different, every company is different, every vessel has its own rhythm. So understanding that intricacies within the region and the company, and I think focusing on what the biggest pain point the company or the client is going through and trying to solve that by hand-holding them and providing that confidence. And the other part is that really building trust across the diverse team and cultures that really go beyond software or tech. So the real element is relationship, and building that real genuine connection is very, very important.
Does it take a long time to build that relationship with the client before they decide to commit to you?
Well, I mean, it's a good question, right? So it depends. So, I mean, of course, as I said, we got to think globally, but of course, act locally in terms of wearing the same hats as your clients are and understanding them a little bit more than going that extra mile and knowing them what the real challenges that they're going through. To answer your question, yes, it takes a little bit of time because relationships are built and trust are gained over a period of time. So it really makes, be more persistent and be more adventurous and be more curious about knowing a lot more about the customers. So, and I think problem solving only happens when you know more about the supply chain aspect of things. But in terms of building the relationship, so I think I've been gifted forming genuine relationship. I believe so. I mean, given my name is Giftson, and people around me also describe me as a networker and a people's person. So people feel that I kind of form genuine relationship. But in shipping, that is also really, really key. Relationship is very important because shipping is, and a word is a bond. That's what I say that. I mean, that's how Greeks have done shipping before. So building the trust is important. It takes a bit of time, but once you hit there, people know you, people trust you. They know that, if you work with Giftson or the company that they represented, it's going to happen. They will help along the way. There might be some failures, but we will overcome it together.
Do you think that's your superpower?
I would like to believe that. So I like to believe my superpower is like leveraging on the relationship that I'm trying to build around an industry. So I would say that yes, forming genuine relationships, just not faking it out, but real genuine interest in people. Because I kind of believe in three things. It comes with people, then it's talking about the value, and it's about the connection. So these three things go hand in hand.
To testify to that, we had a brief connect, and I mentioned how much I love bubble tea, and I was so surprised that you brought bubble tea and that you paid attention. And this is something probably that I just slipped through the conversation. But yeah, you think very deeply and catch these moments. And I think that's a superpower.
No, I think it's very natural for me. I don't probably think a lot about it, as I meet persons every single day, because in my role, I meet new people almost every single day in my career. So it's all about like personal connection and the first, connection that you make with people. I think it's very genuine. It has to be genuine. So I don't put a lot of effort to it. I think it's me. So it just comes naturally for me to do that.
That's something that it comes from internal values, I believe. You can't fake it.
That's very, very true. I think it really, to answer to that, I think there's a couple of things, right? My mom, and my dad, they are highly value these principles because serving in the community, they meet different class of people. So it's really going and being in their shoes and understanding what they're going through, especially serving in remote areas, serving in the community. It's not simple as that. So you got to be in a heart, like, whatever situation they are in, you need to be adaptable to that to become so that they accept you. So that they're willing to listen to you, willing to share their problems with you. Then you can be a counselor, you can be a problem solver. A couple of things that I've seen in action they do is that being in their own shoes, like going to remote villages, trying to be their own people, speaking their same language, trying the same terminology, and feel accepted. And they open up, and we try to see whatever best we can do for the community. I think the same principle also applies in the maritime as well as in the leadership skills. So if we're trying to acquire new market or new regions, adaptability is really the key part. I would say that. So knowing what they like and knowing what their pain points are and speaking their own language is a key factor for any change.
And how did the industry shape you or change you? Was there anything that you initially thought about it, and once you're deep in it, you saw that there was an element of you going through a transition as well?
Very good question. So honestly, I think it shaped me in ways that I think, right, in a lot of ways, in good ways, of course. So coming from a tech background, so I'm entering the maritime space, thinking systems in my mind. But basically talking about automation, talking about efficiency, talking about data. But shipping is a different beast. It's global, it's fast moving. And I'll come back to this element of human. So I kind of soon realized that the human element is very, very vital in this industry. And that's where you can drive the change. And probably I'm going back to what I said earlier. It shaped me in a person where that it's just not about systems and solutions. It's really about the people behind that. So it's not about replacing them. It's about adding value to them, showing them real value in terms of how they can transform their day-to-day life and be more efficient, probably using solutions and how they can solve big problems and probably rest back their weekends or go back to their family and spend some good time over there. It shaped me a person to really appreciate cultures, diverse culture that I work with. So, for example, at Veson, I manage regional markets in APAC region. So even in Southeast Asia, every countries are different, and really appreciating that culture and appreciating their regional values. I think that's a very fourth thing. So again, coming back to being that more flexible and adaptable to that. So I think I kind of learned to be more, build resilience, number one. And I would say that I've built navigate complexity and also build that resistance power to see what can't be changed and how it can be changed over a period of time. And also having the mentality of serving. And it goes a long way. So it's just not about rolling out systems. It is more about helping them to see that value which they can't see in the initial stage, and also guiding them through the transition. So it just really goes a long way.
Do you have any interesting story or fun story that happened over the times?
Probably one of the stories that would probably stick into me is that I had an opportunity to go on board a vessel. So that's in the Singapore anchorage. So I was able to see the coordination between the bridge and as well as the control room, where they were bunkering. At the same time, they're taking in supplies. There's a lot of operations going on. And me being a visitor and somebody's bringing me on a tour around the ship, there's a lot of coordination goes on and a lot of human elements. So that's a big steel floating in the water, carrying tons of cargo, but it's real human behind it. It's working towards. So that kind of sparked a big move in my heart, saying that, hey, wow, this is amazing. Like, this is not simple because they're far away from the home. They are on the sea, working as one team to drive this big change. Like your title, Wavemakers, right? So they're making big waves and bringing in goods from A to B. And I think that's something that I really admire.
I find it fascinating how you bring in 20 people from different areas who have not worked together before, maybe. And then you put them in this confined environment, very challenging environment that tests their limits in every way, physically, mentally. And then somehow they just synchronize and make it work.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right? And try to organize a group of 20 people just in a room to start an event.
Yeah.
You see how chaotic it can get. It's just unbelievable.
I think that's really shipping because they know that it is never about one person. It's really about a team that can make a change. So coming back to change again, I would say that the transformation can only begin when people are united and people are come as a one team and willing to see the change for better. So coming back to your point, they're saying that different cultures, different community, different religion, but coming as one team and having that core values of whatever that you want to contribute to the industry. So yeah, this is a phenomenal space.
Mm-hmm. Talking about ships, which ship would you be and why?
I mean, that's a great question. So if I was a ship, I would be a combination carrier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that because it sounds cool, but I've been on one. So the ability of being future ready or whatever the next is. I mean, they are very unique ships. They can carry both dry and wet cargo. And I kind of see that being ready for the transition, being adaptability. I cannot see that word adaptability is really is a key, especially in the industry, because there's so many things happening in the industry. For example, regulations that's coming up, cybersecurity, data being more available. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of compounding complexity around the industry, like geopolitics, a lot of things going on. So got to be that person that embrace change and be future ready. Mm-hmm. So I would be a combination carrier if I would be a ship.
Don't think I had this one before.
Okay.
I sometimes make my assumptions about the guest. And also when I'm editing, if someone is around, I ask them like, okay, which vessel are they? And then it's like, okay, the true time. Play. I love this game.
It's a pretty interesting question. I think I've never probably heard anybody asking this. If you were a ship, what would you be?
I brought that from innovation. So when we do different workshops, we tried different exercises to just let people go outside of their normal desk job. And this is something that I came up with, but it was often an icebreaker to just say, okay, this is different than your typical day-to-day job. Open your mind to different types of thinking. And it's interesting how a simple question as that just changes everything and opens perspectives.
Maybe that's a hot question in your podcast, I believe. you will be hearing a different perspective of people's thoughts and ideas and how are they personally making the change in the industry.
It gives us a glimpse of you, but it also shares a bit more about the industry. And I think it by explaining why, you break it down in simple ways that are suitable for the new joiners to learn about. So I try to cover different audiences. So if there are some new people, because I know from myself, when I was entering, I didn't even know where to start. And I was not aware of all these different vessels. And I hope that this is that bridge that I can build to also inspire them and spark the curiosity.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think you're talking about bridge. It's a very vital thing as well as apart from the human element that we have in the industry. So this industry, you would see that it's big, but actually it's very small in nature because people knows people, but they're very well connected in a way across the world.
That's the beauty of it. Every place you go, it feels like home.
Yeah, indeed.
At least for me, places are not so much associated with buildings, but people. And then I feel that sense of home when I'm traveling, when I keep seeing familiar faces and friends. And with shipping, luckily, people just keep going like from one maritime hub to another, even if they change companies and roles.
That's right.
That common thread remains.
Yeah. I think this also gives you an opportunity to meet people from different walk of life. I mean, it's Epic Week going on. You never know who's sitting beside you, and lo and below, he's a person that comes from Azerbaijan, working for a state oil company. And the conversation that you have around the table is like very unique conversations about his country, about his culture, about what is next, and how is he navigating through the complexity. And it's more of like sharing that notes and ideas and thoughts. So it's really great. That opens up a lot of opportunity to meet new kind of people in from different way.
Do you have any advice for new joiners trying to craft their way through? Where to start? How to go about even approaching someone to ask for advice?
I would say be brave, be more curious, and be teachable and willing to learn and embrace a change. So if you look into it, right now we are on the world of AI. So everybody's talking about AI. How can I incorporate AI? So even students are using AI every single day, and leaders are using AI every single day. So use AI in the right way. And also somebody who's growing up in the career, I would say that, be more curious and willing to learn, and also be more adaptable.
And what was some memorable advice that was given to you that you recall?
Wow. That's actually a very good question. So the one thing that I will always remember, bringing the right value, genuine connections, I would believe. So I think early in my career, I had a phenomenal leader who taught me through about building genuine connections. So I would take that with me, throughout my journey in my career, and building the trust among the people. That goes a long way. It is never about selling solutions. It's never about that. It is about the real person behind it, and having that personal touch is always would make a lot of difference. And the other one that I would probably do is that I will take the one from my dad and mom about pray before you do anything. So that always stuck with me. I pray for my clients, I pray for my colleagues, I pray for my company, I pray for, it depends on, which religion, whether you believe in God or not, but that's a different story. But that well wish changes a lot of things. It creates a positive atmosphere, that people would be well, and things would move in a good way for both. I mean, for all sides.
The power of energy.
The power of energy.
Yes. No matter what the language is and the verses, I mean, sometimes it matters, but I also believe that what you give out, you get back.
Indeed.
And it changes your own chemistry, and this has been proven. So when you also say a prayer or wish someone well, it changes your chemistry. You enter into the room with that different self, right? You leave the stress, whatever trigger was following you around behind, and then you enter this new moment, a new situation. And it's really powerful, I believe.
Oh, that's very true. I think, first of all, it changes you before it changes other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
And you said that you were curious about podcasts because also you come from a family that does preaching and using language in order to convey deeper purpose. So I always like to switch the mic and let you be the interviewer.
That's very interesting. I always wanted to do video podcasts and audio podcasts, and definitely admired people who does that, because I believe it is not easy. So it goes an extra mile. It takes a strength a lot to do it. How did you get into the industry? If I may
shipping?
Ask. Yeah.
By accident. It was coming in as teasers, as I realized with many other things. Somehow the universe conspires and sends you messages stronger and stronger until you realize that maybe I should pay attention to this. But it started with a friend who started doing his company. And then he would be like, do you want to join us? I'm like, no. And then, do you want to join us? I was like, no. And then another friend was working in shipping as well. And he was like, I'm hiring for my team. You want to join us? I was like, no. I'm focused at sustainability, but I send the energy out. So when Maersk put their decarbonization strategy together, there was an opportunity. And then that same friend I said no to was like, well, do you want now? And look at the impact you can have. Look at the CO2 emissions that you can contribute to saving. And that spoke to my deeper self. And that finally convinced me to take a leap and join to drive innovation strategy for decarbonizing Maersk and then run the portfolio. And that was the beginning. And all I knew then is I needed to save CO2. That was my KPI and my motivation. But then how was a totally different game. And I didn't even know where to start with finding the how, because it was just suddenly so complex. The big portfolio of many different projects, various teams, not understanding pretty much anything. And I come from a scientific background, so I always thought like, okay, it's quite easy for me to understand all these technical concepts. But suddenly there was just so many moving parts and so many interconnected parts. So that led me to kind of turning to people as my resource and a source of knowledge and guidance, because somehow what spoke to me was like, okay, there's no way you can learn all this in such a short amount of time. So let's try to find some common threads to try to find different ways of connecting information and making decisions. And that led me to talking to people. And then that opened Pandora's box that led even to these podcasts on how to drive change management, and through that, how to drive innovation. And I'm somewhat replicating that process, I believe, but in a broader context, from one person to another. But the idea is that I allow that knowledge sharing, experience sharing to take down the boundaries of roles and hierarchies, to convey the messages and thread common values among people as a mean to hopefully contribute to innovation and transformation. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you mentioned about driving innovation and driving change. I mean, right now, the company that I represent, we kind of use AI and advanced analytics throughout the cargo life cycle, from planning to execution sort of things. So from your standpoint, where do you see the, digital tools like AI, being used for transforming and also decarbonizing the industry?
Yeah. I have a love and hate relationship to AI in general. I still don't know where I sit on which side of the table. But I do recognize that this AI boom came at the right time. I think we really needed it, considering the leap of faith and all the different levels of transition, like with technologies and fuels and infrastructure, and that asking for transparency and real-time data. Like, it would be just too much to pursue in 20 years altogether. So it was definitely the right timing for AI to step into the game and help out. And I think that will lead us to being able to really quickly make decisions, informed decisions. At the same time, I really love human element of it. And I want to be hopeful that people find ways to reskill themselves, right? There was industrial transformation, and that just opened new types of roles for people. So I have that hope for this AI age as well. But I don't like the disconnect that it creates. So that would be my desire, that somehow we implement it and make it a part of our lives, but to still keep genuine moments, interactions, and reliability on humans at its core.
Yeah, I think you mentioned about like really few points here, like connections, efficiency you mentioned, and automation, if I'm not wrong. You mentioned about like smarter, informed decision. I mean, I think it's all about the surfacing the right data at the right place and where and when you need it. I think it's a very vital thing. There's enormous data across the industry, across every other industry. But as a user, if I get the right data at a particular life cycle, for example, in shipping, if we take a life cycle of cargo, during the prefixture side of things, if you get the right data that you need for your prefixture negotiation, that's what you need to make a decision there. So, probably surfacing the right data at the right place would make more sense. I think AI would do that a little bit more powerfully by gathering the information, because if you have the right foundational data and having AI on top of that would make a change in the space. I think it'll be for better. I do understand the nervousness about whether it will replace people, but I think it will just change the way that we are.
I always have a picture of Wall-E animated movie in my head, and how people have the AI assistants and have the access to knowledge, but somehow they get lazy about being critical thinkers. And that is, if we can keep that part, let's be critical thinkers and use all the technology to empower ourselves, perfect. But I don't want to just, take anything as it comes and not dig deeper and find the source of it or the meaning or what led to that decision. So that is more to humans. Message, right? Because it's how we approach it and how we train our brain and whether we train that muscle or not.
Exactly. I think that's very, very true. I think you got to be, I think having the right balance, I think is very, very key here.
What is your view onto that? How do you imagine the future?
I think it's going to be very interesting. So me being in the maritime technology space, I mean, that's what I can speak of. I see that the industry will be more connected, basically more transparent. As you said, I think the data will be more available for people to make faster and smart decisions. And it's all about, if you look into for example, at Veson, we look into the client's organization. We're talking about breaking silos between two departments here. And sometimes the operators would like to have visibility into a prefixture negotiated terms. It could be counterparty terms. It could be communications around that. And if you don't have that one unified, centralized platform that flows from planning to execution, one integrated solution, and having that visibility is very critical. I think for us, we believe that visibility creates opportunity. So if you have that visibility through a one solution, that's going to be very, very powerful, commercially viable, and also best for your customers and best for sustainability angle as well. And also using AI, surfacing the data where you need it, and giving that human edge to make better decision. Of course, critical thinking is absolutely important and vital here, but it's more towards helping or doing that mundane task. For example, I would probably use my time to do more strategic work rather than collecting documents. If you take, for example, into the claim side of thing on the post-fixture, so if I have 20, 15 claims analysts who are gathering documents to identify the largest claim, the time bar, etc., I'd probably apply AI on top of it to do that mundane task for me so that I can focus on strategic things. So that's what I would see this industry is moving towards in terms of adaptability and embracing technology for better.
Well, we keep this in a time capsule. So in 20 years, I will send it back to you and we will watch a movie and compare.
It's happening now.
Yes.
It's happening now as we speak.
And how do you decompress?
So for me, it's like, I have a 3-year-old daughter. So I try to spend as much as time that I can. But of course, given my role, I do travel quite a bit. But coming back home, try as possible to spend some time with her, read storybooks. In the season of life, that's what I'm currently doing. But before I got married, I was into cycling, I was into golfing. Of course, I run almost every other day to decompress and settle down to think. I'll always lean back to sports, always lean back to, being in a community of like-minded people who can help you better to be a better person every single day. So that's how I would do it. But otherwise, being with my family is what makes me more comfortable. And seeing my daughter growing up and how curious she is, and asking, she thinks I'm the Superman. Anything that she needs, she can ask for, Papa, help me with that. Plug that flower above the tree really super high. Papa can do it because he can do anything for him or for her. So, yeah.
Different perspective of KPIs. Some are very easily achievable.
Some are usually, but to them, like, the dad can do everything.
Yes. So I would like to thank you for being my guest today. And I'm very curious to unpack our vision of the future in some time. So I hope that we get to have another conversation closer to that, to reflect and see what changed.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. It's a great opportunity to talk about industry, and as well as knowing you as a person. Definitely seen some of your episodes with different people in the industry, but what you're doing is great. Keep doing it, and I believe that the best is yet to come for you.
Then stay tuned until the next time.